The green glow of my monitors is my world. 3 screens arranged like a cockpit bathed my small apartment in a perpetual digital twilight. To the thousands of people who knew me as Nix, this was the command center, the haunted studio where I played games designed to make people jump out of their skin. To me, it was just home, a fortress. My job, if you could call it that, was to get paid to scream at my computer screen, and I was damn good at it. Tonight's special was a new indie horror game, all dark corridors and distorted whispers. I had the atmosphere just right. My face, lit from below, looked ghostly on the little window in the corner of the screen. The viewers were eating it up. Then Comet, my fluffy black cat, decided he needed to be the star. He leapt onto the desk with a soft thud right in front of my main monitor and started batting at my mouse cord. I laughed, leaning back in my chair. "Comet, you trying to steal the spotlight again, buddy?" I said into the mic, stroking his back. The chat filled with heart emojis and comments about him being cute. Then one comment popped up, pinned with a small donation, from a user named Echo Jester. Echo Jester. "Your cat seems to like knocking things over. Heard him last night." I squinted at the screen. My apartment building had decent soundproofing. Not perfect, but good enough that you wouldn't hear a cat unless he was really causing a racket. Echo Jester was a known name in my chat. An anti-fan. One of those trolls who watches every stream just to leave nasty comments. Probably just a lucky guess. A creep trying to get under my skin. I ignored it. "All right, you little monster," I said to Comet, scooping him up and setting him on the floor. "Let's get back to the spooks." A little later, the game led me into a creepy, dilapidated mansion. To amp up the tension, I triggered a custom sound effect, a long, drawn-out creak of a heavy wooden door. It echoed perfectly through my headphones. Then I heard it again. Fainter, without the digital reverb, but identical. It came from the wall to my left, the wall I shared with apartment 4A, where some new guy had just moved in a couple of weeks ago. Mark, I think his name was. A quiet guy I'd only seen once in the hallway. I pulled one side of my headset off. My ears strained, listening to the silence of my own apartment. Nothing. Just the low hum of my PC. Must be a coincidence, I told myself, my fingers a little tight on my keyboard. It's an old building. It makes noises. I pushed through the rest of the stream, but my focus was shot. Every little sound in the game made me think of the wall. When I finally signed off, my usual cheerful "Stay spooky, everyone" sounded weak even to my own ears. "God," I mumbled, stretching my arms over my head. "Playing games like that really makes you hungry. I could kill for a pizza right now." I shut down the computer, plunging the room into darkness, and went to take a long, hot shower to wash the paranoia off. 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, my doorbell rang, a loud, insistent buzz that made me jump. I peered through the peephole. A delivery guy in a red uniform stood there, holding a large, flat cardboard box. Pizza. My blood went cold. I opened the door a crack, the security chain still on. "Sorry," I said, my voice shaky. "I think you have the wrong apartment. I didn't order anything." The guy, a teenager who looked bored out of his mind, glanced down at the receipt taped to the box. He shrugged. "Says apartment 4B, for Nix." He butchered the name, pronouncing it Nix. My mind went completely blank. How? Who? The only people who knew my address were my family and a couple of close friends. None of them would— "I'm not taking it," I said, my voice barely a whisper.
I slammed the door shut, my heart hammering against my ribs. I leaned against the cool wood, breathing heavily. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a lucky guess. Someone had heard me. Someone knew where I lived. My fortress wasn't a fortress at all. I went back to the peephole, my hands trembling. I watched the delivery guy stand there for a moment, confused. He looked at the box, then back at my door, then shrugged again. As he turned to leave, the door to 4A opened. Mark stepped out. He was just a shape in the dimly lit hallway. Average height, average build. He didn't look at my door.
He just walked over to the delivery guy, said a few quiet words, and took the pizza from him. He gave the kid a nod, then turned and disappeared back into his apartment. The door clicked shut. He didn't just live nearby, he was him, Echo Jester. The comments, the sounds through the wall, it all came from the man who slept 10 feet away from me. My stomach twisted into a knot. The next morning, I couldn't bring myself to leave the apartment. I'd spent $50 on a rush-ordered security camera, the kind you can stick to your door and watch from your phone. I spent the morning watching the live feed, my eyes glued to the little screen. I watched the door to 4A, waiting. Finally, Mark came out, dressed for work. He locked his door and walked away, down the hall and out of sight. Everything looked normal, except for the trash he'd left outside his door for the building maintenance to pick up. A flattened, greasy pizza box. Stuck to the top was a small yellow sticky note. I zoomed in as much as my phone's camera would allow. The image was grainy, but the handwriting was clear. Sharpie, black and bold. Thin crust is better next time, Nix. Tastes better. That night, I didn't stream. I couldn't. I sat in the dark, the monitors off, the silence of the apartment feeling heavy, watchful. After an hour of just sitting there, I did something stupid. I crept over to the shared wall, the one between my living room and his, and pressed my ear against the cool drywall. I held my breath, listening. For a long time, there was nothing. Then I heard it. A very faint, rhythmic sound. Click, clack, click, click, typing. My phone, sitting on the coffee table, buzzed. The screen lit up the dark room. It was a notification from my streaming channel's private chat. My fingers felt like ice as I picked it up. A new message had been posted in the empty room, just for me. From Echo Jester. Quiet night, Nix. The walls seem really thin, don't they? I spent the next day watching the security camera footage again, scrubbing back and forth through the recording of Mark leaving for work. I was looking for, I don't know what, a sign, a confession, anything. He just looked like a normal guy. He locked his door, turned, and walked away. But as he walked, a keychain attached to his belt loop swung into view for a split second. I paused the video. I rewound it, playing it back frame by frame. Then I saw it. I zoomed in, the pixels distorting until the image was a blurry mess, but the shape was unmistakable. Hanging there, among a few normal metal keys, was a small, 3D printed plastic charm. It was a clown mask, the exact same logo he used as his profile picture online. The icon for Echo Jester. The confirmation didn't bring relief. It brought a thick, cold certainty that settled in my gut like a block of ice. I didn't sleep. I just sat on my couch, the security camera feed playing on a loop on my tablet, watching the ghost of him walk down the hall, the tiny clown mask swinging, over and over. Proof. What was I supposed to do with proof?
Show it to the cops? Officer, my neighbor has a keychain that matches his troll account avatar. I could hear how insane it sounded. Morning came, not with a sunrise, but with the gray light filtering through my blinds, making the dust motes dance in the air. I felt raw, like my skin had been scrubbed with sandpaper. I needed to act normal, do normal things, make coffee. That's a normal thing. I unlatched the 3 locks on my door, the deadbolt, the chain, and the swing bar I'd installed myself. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle. I just needed to grab my morning paper. That was it. One quick, normal action. I pulled the door open a few inches. And there it was. Sitting right on my doormat, perfectly centered, was a doll. It was made of old, faded calico fabric, stuffed lopsidedly with what was probably cotton. Its hair was just a few strands of black yarn, and its eyes were 2 mismatched buttons, one black and one a cloudy gray. My breath caught in my throat. It couldn't be. It was Raggedy Annabelle, the doll my grandmother had made for me when I was 5, the one I'd lost during a family move when I was 8. I remembered crying about it for weeks. It looked exactly the same, right down to a small tea-colored stain on its left leg where I'd spilled juice. This wasn't a guess. This wasn't a clever trick. This was a memory, ripped out of my head and placed on my